Hey guys, Bob here for More Strength and Muscle, and today we've got another True Fan Tuesday video. This is where if you take the time to ask me a more thought out, detailed question, I will take the time to give you a more thought out, detailed answer. And today's question has to do with the golden ratio between shoulder and waist size that defines the perfect V taper. So Mario Ciano asked, hey brother, can you elaborate on the golden triangle? 1.618 waist to shoulder ratio. I'm curious about what yours is and how someone can improve theirs. I just don't know how to get wider shoulders while I'm trying to cut weight /fat calories around your waist. It always seems like one or the other. Big shoulders with love handles or lean waist with lean shoulders. Okay, excellent question. I love the way that you're putting some thought into this and you're actually planning out what you're doing. A lot of people jump into an exercise routine. I'm going to try to eat healthy and I'm going to try to work out once in a while. Well, that's great, but that doesn't get you anywhere. If you want to run 26.2 miles, you need to train for a marathon. If you want to lift 1,000 pounds, you need to train for powerlifting. And if you want to have a V taper, you have to maximize muscle width in your back while at the same time minimizing the size of your waist and the fat around your waist. Okay, so good job thinking about what you want and then reverse engineering a plan to get there. So let's go ahead and talk about, first of all, just this ratio first, okay, and then we'll get into how to do this. Okay, specifically, nobody has a small waist anymore. Okay, maybe men's physique athletes do, maybe Instagram guys do. Classic physique, perhaps, but open bodybuilding does not at all have anything resembling a V taper anymore, okay? Bloated, pregnant, GH or insulin or whatever guts, nobody has them anymore. So the only real experts were back in like the 50s, 60s, maybe 70s. Okay, those were the guys that really wanted this V taper. They trained for it. That's where the whole concept of this ratio came out. Now, believe it or not, if you had asked me, I would have said that the ultimate V taper was probably something like Steve Reeves, because he always was talking about how he wanted the perfect V taper. But I remember years ago reading his book, and what he said is Jack LaLanne had the ultimate V taper, and he actually wanted to imitate his V taper. See, Jack LaLanne, a lot of people would say, you know, he's that guy who was like up on, you know, doing YouTube videos on TV, basically. You know, hey, ladies, this is how you exercise a little bit while your husband's at work. Or, hey, guys, this is how you do a couple push-ups at home. But the fact of the matter is he had one hell of a body, okay? And what Steve Reeves said is he had a 25-inch difference between his shoulders and his waist. And Steve Reeves was always trying to have this 25-inch difference. He got up to 24, but he never really made the 25-inch difference, okay? So this is basically, if Steve Reeves had a 29-inch waist and there was a 24-inch difference, he had 53-inch shoulders, okay? That gave him a 1.83 ratio, okay, which is really extreme. That's actually more of a V taper than 1.618. That's a steeper ratio, okay? So he had one hell of a V taper. And to this day, like I said, people look at him because of his tight waist. A similar way to look at this is Vince Gironda. Vince Gironda was also a big fan of the concept that bodybuilding is an illusion. You know, the bigger that your shoulders are, the wider that your back is, the bigger you are up top, the smaller your waist is going to look. It's an illusion. The less fat you have around your waist, the smaller your waist is, the bigger your shoulders are going to look. It's all an illusion. And of course, the way to really master the illusion is to, at the same time, have broad shoulders, have a wide back, and have a small waist. So you're basically improving both ends. You're making the top wider and the bottom smaller, which is the ultimate way to get the biggest V taper, okay? So he wanted to know what mine was, okay? And I'm just gonna be honest here. You know, like I said, I had what I consider like my perfect physique. It's what I call the Viking physique, the Thor physique. I thought I was doing pretty good. Had some issues because I had introduced some carbs into my diet and it caused inflammation. I couldn't train for a while. So now I'm on the road back to my Thor physique. do a video about it later this week, but I'm gonna go ahead and give you a couple of examples of my V taper, okay? So right now, this morning when I woke up, I had a 34.5-inch waist, okay? I'm still losing weight, but like I said, it's basically where I was at this morning. And I had 50-inch shoulders. I just measured them before I made this video. So that's a 1.449 ratio, okay? Now, I want to get my waist back down to at least 32 inches, okay? So 50-inch shoulders. I might lose a tiny bit of size, but there's not a lot of fat in your shoulders. Considering about a 50-inch shoulder circumference and a 32-inch waist, that would be a 1.563, okay? So what I'm shooting for right now is a 1.563 ratio. The golden triangle, as you wrote, is 1.618, and Steve Reeves had 1.83. Okay, now let's get down into the nitty-gritty and talk specifically about how to actually achieve this. My best advice in achieving the perfect V taper is this. Don't worry about it, okay? The fact of the matter is this. Everybody has their own body structure, okay? So what you can do is you can only get as close as possible to that body structure that you want, okay? Now, I'm not telling you by any means to not go after this. I already said it's good that you know what you want, okay? It is excellent that that you're making a plan right now to get there, that you asked this question. But the fact of the matter is you are not going to be able to change anything, okay? So at the end of the day, you just want to be the best you can, okay? So for instance, like I said, you know, Steve Reeves tried his whole life to catch this ideal of a 25-inch difference between his shoulders and his waist. He got up to 24, and he still had one of the most iconic physiques ever. Okay, he was better known for his physique, at least, than Jack LaLanne, who's the guy he was trying to emulate. And still, even though he didn't make what he wanted to make, he blew away the golden ratio, okay? Let's go ahead and take a peek at this. I don't know what my waist or my back or my shoulder measurements were when I took this photograph, but I'm telling you right now, this is one hell of a physique. This is one hell of a V taper, okay? And I wasn't even training specifically to get the V taper. All I was doing is this was right around after lockdown, because I remember where I was living at that point in my life. This is the kitchen of the place I was living during and after lockdown, okay? Now, what I did was I trained to get as strong as I could, and a lot of the time I was on the pure protein diet, okay? So basically I was on like an extreme fat cutting diet, and at the same time I was training as heavy as possible, okay? On the pure protein diet, which is my extreme cutting diet, I actually got up to doing warm-up sets, and then after the warm-ups, 5 sets of 5 reps with 500 pounds on the trap bar deadlift. I was doing 5 sets of 5 reps of dips with 4 plates with 180 pounds. So I got very lean and very strong. And that is my advice to you. My advice to you is build as much muscle as possible throughout your entire body, okay? Build as much muscle as possible. How much? As much as you can. If I tell you to build X amount of muscle, get this wide, or build this many pounds, you're either going to be able to do it or not. Your genetics might allow you to get wider, okay? You might be able to get bigger shoulders and a bigger chest and a wider back. I don't know, and neither do you. But you can only do the absolute best you can do. And you have to just maintain a small waist, which means don't put on a lot of body fat. Now, what does this mean? I understand you said that it seems like you either put on weight and you get like a big waist, but big muscles, or you cut down and lose the fat, but you also lose size, okay? There are a couple things going on here. First of all, when you cut down, and I've said this before in other videos, you're not really losing muscle, okay? The thing here is your waist is covered with fat. I mean, everybody's is. Okay, no matter how lean you get. Unless you're literally dead, you got fat there in some amount. Now, if I measure my waist and like a week later or 2 weeks later, I've lost 5 pounds and it's an inch smaller, I'm like, yes, I lost fat. If I go ahead and I lose a 1/4 inch around my arms after I've lost 5 pounds of fat or 10 pounds of fat, then it's like, oh God, I lost muscle. No, you didn't. You never had the muscle. As a matter of fact, there's a video that I made where I literally went ahead and put on a jacket, measured my biceps, took the jacket off, measured my biceps, and said, oh my God, I lost all this muscle. No, I never had the muscle in the first place. I had 2 inches of insulation, of padding, of jacket, of sleeve around my arm. And when I took it off, I had the same muscles that I had before I took the jacket off. The difference is I just had the same amount of muscle, but a jacket. Got rid of the jacket, I still had the same amount of muscle. So if you lose fat, you are not usually losing muscle. You're just losing the fat on it, okay? Pinch your tricep. You know, I got like a little bit, I mean, I still have to lose fat, but I mean, I got quite, you know, a bit of tricep fat going on here. So it's the same thing as when you lose you're like, oh my God, my abdominal muscles are atrophying. No, you never say that. You just say, I lost fat around my waist, but the arms, oh my God, I gotta be losing muscle. The same thing with your chest. If your chest is smaller, you're probably losing titty fat. It's just the way it is, okay? So cutting fat does not necessarily mean that you are going to be losing muscle, okay? What you're losing is fat covering the muscle. It obviously looks smaller than it did with the fat on top of it, okay? But a couple of things. First of all, you're not losing the muscle. You just never had the muscle. And second, this is what I talked about in my last video, how to get as muscular as possible, as fast as possible. The facts of the matter is this: you will look bigger and better when you are leaner, okay? So even if at some point you're like, oh my God, I'm losing muscle and everything's going away, you're losing fat, you're not losing muscle, but when you get lean enough that you can see every fiber, okay, that you got striations, that you can see every fiber, that you can see separation in your muscles, you will look bigger than you did 10, 15, 20 pounds of fat ago when you took up more space, but you were less muscular, okay? Muscularity means a lot of muscle, a little fat. So you're going to be smaller, but because you have less fat, you're going to see the muscles and it's going to make you look more muscular. I mean, one of the most iconic physiques of all times was Bruce Lee. The guy weighed 130, 135 pounds, okay? I mean, there's like, you know, I remember once again, I talked about this in a video years ago. There was a Muscle and Fitness article where they talked about his physique and they had just a grid of like all these guys talking about it. Linda Murray, one of the first and one of the best female bodybuilders, talked about his body. And she's around big bodybuilders constantly. She said he had the kind of physique that every woman likes. You know, hard muscles, sleek, long lines. She thought his body was incredible. She weighs a lot more than him. She has bigger muscles than him, but she was like, man, that's just that look, because he was that lean, okay? Because you could see his muscles. So basically, like I said, when you lose fat and get lean, you're not losing muscle, you're just losing the fat covering the muscle. That's why you look smaller. When you gain muscle, okay, you bulk up. You get your waist bigger, but you're getting bigger muscles. You're not really getting bigger muscles at that rate. Nobody gains a half a pound or a pound of muscle a week. Like, you should be bulking, you should gain a half a pound or a pound of muscle a week. No, bullshit. Do not worry about the scale. That's what I say. Don't worry about this golden ratio. Just get as strong as you can, get as lean as you can. Don't think to yourself when you're bulking, I have to put on so much weight. Because let's say that you go ahead and you put on 10 pounds in a year, the first year of training, right? Or the first year of good training with a good schedule of training and a good nutrition program. Let's say you put on 10 pounds in that first year. That is less than a pound a month. 12 pounds is 1 pound a month, okay? 10 pounds is less than a pound a month, but let's pretend it's a pound a month. That's a quarter of a pound a week, okay? So do you really think you're going to be able to monitor that? Okay, it should be like when you gain weight, okay, and this is what I talk about lean bulking. When you gain weight, you should be consistently getting stronger. There may be a plateau and then you get stronger again, but you should be consistently getting stronger, okay? And then over time, you realize that you're building muscle, but it shouldn't be something that you could actually see, okay? I mean, imagine like a snail or a slug is like in the middle of this giant parking lot, okay? Like, you're not going to really be able to see him moving, okay? He is moving, but you can't really see it. But if you come back after like a week of him moving, you'll be like, wow, he's gone like 3 feet. That's incredible or whatever. I mean, the point I'm trying to make here is it is going to be undetectable now. But let's say that you start training like really good, really hard, lean bulking, and somebody sees you shirt off, whatever, flexing, and then they see you in 3 months or 6 months, there's gonna be a massive difference. You may not have noticed it, but there is gonna be a massive difference. So instead of looking at your muscle size, instead of looking at how much weight you've gained, okay, just go ahead and feed yourself as little as possible so that you're still strong in the gym, so that you still, can think and function throughout your day, so that you keep getting stronger, and concentrate on your strength, okay? Like if you concentrate on every exercise getting stronger, you are going to, on every exercise, build more muscle. Now let's talk about losing fat, okay? Losing fat is something you can do immediately. Losing fat will improve your shoulder to waist ratio immediately. So I really suggest most people, unless they're like the 98-pound weakling from the old Atlas cartoons where he got sand kicked on his face and then he came back and beat up the bully, unless you're like skinny, I really suggest that you usually first lean out, okay? Because the idea is like, let's go ahead and look at this, okay? Let's go ahead and look at my back right now. This is my back right now. I am bigger than I was in that picture from lockdown. My back is thicker. I've got more of a turtle shell. I'm at least as wide. I am beefy. I am big. I got a big waist, so I don't have a V taper. But imagine if I had, last time I measured my waist, 34.5 inches, and then I lose 2.5 inches, which is about maybe 12 pounds of body fat. Once I lose that and get down to a 32-inch waist, but I still have this wide, thick back, don't you think that I am going to have an insanely incredible V taper, whether I build muscle or not, just because I'm going to reduce the size of my waist? So like I said, I've got a big back, but you can't see it because I got too much fat on me right now. So that's the point that I'm trying to get at right now. I'm trying to maintain and build muscle. You always want to build muscle, but I'm trying to lose the body fat and get really lean. So the point I'm trying to make is don't worry about the ratio. Just worry about a couple things. Get as strong as possible, okay? And get as lean as possible. If you feel like you're getting smaller while you're leaning out, you're not losing muscle, you're really just losing the fat. So obviously you take up less space. It's like taking off a jacket. You never had that muscle in the first place, okay? And there are a couple caveats here. You obviously need a solid nutrition plan, because if you are not getting in the proper macronutrients, the proper micronutrients, if you're not getting in the proper amount of protein especially, but I mean, everything, electrolytes, macronutrients, micronutrients, sleep, water, hydration, all this stuff comes into play. If you're not recovering properly, yes, it is possible you will lose muscle, but assuming that your diet is in check, you will be able to maintain and actually increase your muscle as you lose weight, okay? At the same time, like I said, just train your whole body, but definitely make sure that you train your shoulders to get wider. Definitely make sure that you train the width, okay, of your lats, of your upper back muscles, okay? Like the V taper, the wing muscles. Now, basically, those are the only caveats. Like, you have to make sure you've got good nutrition, especially when cutting down, to maintain and build muscle. And you need to make sure that you do actually train your body in a way that will create a V taper, okay? But aside from that, like I said, don't worry about this. It is excellent to check in once in a while with, like, maybe measure your shoulders, measure your waist. It's a good ideal to have. It's a good goal to have. But in terms of actually training for it, just lean out, okay? At the same time, build muscle. Once you get lean enough, like as lean as you could possibly be, or as lean as you feel good at, then just concentrate on maintaining your leanness and just build strength and strength and strength. And like I said, over time, your upper body will get wider and your waist will get smaller, and you will get more and more of a V taper, okay? So excellent question. I really enjoyed this question. Thank you very much for asking it. Once again, like I said, this is True Fan Tuesday, so if you guys have any questions that are like a little bit more thought out like this, just go ahead and put them down below, and I will choose a question every Tuesday to answer and give, like I said, a little bit more in-depth answer because you took the time to ask me a more in-depth question. Thanks for the question. I really appreciate it. Ask me any questions you have down below if this doesn't cover everything. Aside from that, subscribe if you haven't. If you guys want to know how I build muscle without building fat, how I cut fat without losing muscle, go ahead and check down below. I've got my nutrition program, my workout program, my group coaching program, my one-on-one coaching program. There's something for everybody down there for like every budget, okay? Depending if you want to put more time in learning yourself or pay more, but have me do everything for you, go ahead and check out all my programs down below. Aside from that, thanks you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video.